Hi, excursionists. I wanted to take a minute to apologize. I mixed up my weeks, and I realized that it has been far too long since I put out a story. So, many apologies. I'm not even sure if this is the right week to release on, to be totally honest. So, sorry for the delay, and I hope you guys enjoy this one. One quick warning to this week's episode. This is going to sound a little familiar because, well, sometimes art imitates life. Please keep in mind this is a work of fiction, but listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Into the Night. I'm Nari, your guide on today's excursion down a twisted path. Be careful not to get lost. Be it dark or light, it's easy to lose your way. Are you ready? Then let's begin. For the good of mankind. A cold wind stung Peter Whitfield as he stepped outside the sterile laboratory and made his way to the parking lot. He shivered and pulled his coat tighter around him. The chill made him shake, and instinctively he thought that he might be sick.
I know I'm not. I'm not. Will this ever end, though?
He wasn't hopeful at this point. He was tired.
We are all tired. Exhausted as individuals and exhausted as a society.
Peter had a purpose, however, as did the other scientists who worked tirelessly to find a cure. The pandemic was their immediate calling, but he and his colleagues had dedicated their lives to saving people from the multitude of diseases always waiting to bring humanity to its knees. Peter took his work seriously. One of his virology professors, Dr. Spearman, once told Peter's class, "New viruses that emerge are like the unknown asteroids lurking in our universe. The worst ones aren't detected until they threaten to wipe us out." Peter was struck by this comment. He leaned forward in his chair as he took notes in the lecture hall. Dr. Spearman continued, "The difference between viruses and asteroids, however, is that a virus can mutate. An asteroid can't change its path. It's either going to hit Earth or it isn't. A virus becomes intelligent. It seeks out our weaknesses and plans ways to get around our defenses." The students nervously looked around the room at each other. Dr. Spearman gave them a moment to take in the enormity of what he'd just told them. "It scares you, doesn't it?" The students nodded yes. "Good. That fear may be what drives you to find cures. People believe that we are at the top of the food chain in this world, but we aren't. Viruses are. They strike anyone, anywhere, and they don't care about your political affiliation or the size of your bank account. All they care about is finding a host, someone to multiply in and spread themselves." The gray-haired professor took off his glasses and pointed to his students. You are what stands between life as we know it and a virus, or several viruses, that aim to annihilate us." His class sat silently. "Now, on that note, remember that your midterm is on Tuesday, and I will assign your term paper at that time as well. I will see you then. Class dismissed." Peter remembered that day often. He made his way across the windy parking lot to his car as Dr. Spearman's words echoed through his thoughts. He unlocked his car and slipped into the driver's seat. The engine started and the defrosters began the work of removing the crusted frost from the windshield. The time on the dash clock read 4:54 a.m. He'd worked the previous day and practically all night at the lab. He rubbed his neck with his cold fingers, trying to bring relief to both. He ran his hands through his short brown hair, ruffling it worse than it already was. This wasn't the first all-nighter he'd pulled. It wouldn't be his last. Looking at his bloodshot eyes in the mirror, he noticed more than exhaustion. Fear? Sadness? Anger? Even he wasn't sure which emotion had the upper hand. Peter wasn't a workaholic by nature, but the clock was ticking for life as we knew it, and the urgency that drove him and others to delve deeper and deeper into finding a cure.
This pandemic has changed everything. The entire world is at risk. We can't seem to stay ahead of it.
Dejected, Peter drove home through the icy early morning to his modest home, tucked in a suburban cul-de-sac. The house was quiet as he turned his key and went upstairs. Vicky, his wife, slept soundly as he climbed under the covers and slipped his arm around her. His head had barely touched the pillow when he was asleep. 4 hours later, he was up and getting ready for work once more. Vicky had breakfast waiting for him when he came downstairs.
Another long one today?
I'm afraid so. We just can't seem to get ahead of this damn virus. We develop a vaccine for one strain and another one pops up. It's mutating quickly, and I'm afraid it's going to morph into something none of us can stop.
Vicky was worried. Worried for her husband, their family, and the world. The virus wasn't the only cause for concern.
Honey?
Yeah, Vic?
I have to go to the school today to meet with the principal. Peter stopped chewing his bite of bacon and looked quizzically at his wife.
Did one of the kids get in trouble?
No, but Kate has been getting ugly notes put in her locker. Something was written in the bathroom about her, too.
Peter put his fork down and swallowed hard.
How long has this been going on? What do the notes say?
Well, she's had comments made to her all school year, but the notes and threats are only in the last few weeks.
Threats?
Vicky walked over to the kitchen table and sat next to Peter.
Yes, threats.
Why haven't you told me?
You've been so busy with work and what? Kate is such a sweet kid. Why would anyone be mad at her?
Vicky hesitated.
The threats are about you.
Hurt, anger, and confusion swept across his face.
What do you mean they're about me? Your work. Some people around here think it's all a hoax. The notes say things like they're going to burn down our house because the vaccines you're working on are meant to kill us, or track us, or any number of things. Some of our friends and neighbors see you and us as the enemy now.
Peter slumped in his chair and put his hands over his face.
I work so hard. For this?
Anger flashed in his eyes as he looked around the room and then to his wife.
We are working day and night at that lab to find a way to stop this virus, to protect people, and now there are jerks terrorizing our 13-year-old daughter and making threats? What in the hell is wrong with this world?
Vicky put her hand on his arm.
I know, Pete. It makes no sense. I'm going to talk to Mr. Roberts and see if there's anything the school can do to settle this down.
Poor Katie. She's been going through all this because of me, and I didn't even know it.
The anger, the hurt, and exhaustion all caught up to Peter Whitfield as he wept. Vicky put her arms around him.
Katie is fine. She's a strong girl. We're all going to be fine. It's not your fault. I believe in what you are doing, and these people just don't understand that the world needs you and your work.
Still, Peter felt guilty for his daughter's problems. He looked up at his wife.
What about Tyler and Shauna? Are they having anyone bother them?
Vicky took in a breath and sighed.
Thankfully, Shauna's too young. No one in her class has made any comments. Tyler, well, Last week he nearly fought another boy over it, but he's doing okay. I don't want you to worry. We're fine, and you are doing important work.
Peter hugged his wife. I'm trying. I know for certain that everyone on my team at Dynamics is trying. I'd better get going. It's probably going to be another long one, so don't wait up. He took one more sip of his coffee and was on his way back to the lab for another 24-hour day. The cycle of long hours for days and weeks at the lab continued. The team of researchers Peter worked with were dedicated, but sometimes their spirits were crushed. I just don't understand it, Hal. As soon as we create one vaccine, this damn thing mutates and we're back to square one. It's not like anything we've dealt with before, and that's saying a lot. Hal Lindrum shook his head. It's perplexing the different variants this virus morphs into. And look at this. Charlie Preston slapped a newspaper down on the table. The headline reads, "Tensions and violence rise with each new conspiracy theory. People are becoming ugly, and the virus is killing us in more ways than one. My kids are being threatened by other teenagers and their parents because I work here." Kate was heckled at her basketball game on Thursday, Vicky said. Meanwhile, I can't even go to her games because I'm here trying to find a cure. Hal nodded. It's discouraging as hell. My in-laws won't speak to me now, and a few of our neighbors have put signs in their yards making it clear they think we are the problem. Tara's hairdresser told her to find someone else just because I work on the vaccine. She told Tara that the vaccine is the real killer. I don't know when or how it's going to end. Peter stood up and stretched. But I do know I need to get back inside. Break's over. Months passed, and each new promising step forward was met with yet another variant that brought them back full circle. Some new strains weren't as severe, but they spread more easily, and the death toll continued to rise. Peter Whitfield was worried. Dr. Spearman was right. It's like this virus has its own intelligence, always finding a way to be one step ahead of us. It seems like a losing battle. What happens if we can't stop it? What if it mutates into something that really does kill all of us? The thought terrified him. Meanwhile, society continued to tear itself apart. Friend and neighbor, brother and sister drew battle lines in the sand over who the real enemy was. Riots broke out in the streets, and homicide cases exploded. People no longer felt safe regardless of what side of the fight they were on. The anxiety and uncertainty of the world caused tempers to flare and fear to reign around the world. A new type of civil war was waged, and everyone was the loser. Some died because they refused the vaccine. Others died because their fear of the virus caused them to ignore other health and well-being needs. Some died from injuries sustained as one opinion battled another opinion until violence erupted. Fear and anger swept the land. Still, the virus mutated. I just don't understand the world, Peter told Vicky one night. I watch the news and see the chaos breaking out. Our own family is under attack. I don't understand the hatred on both sides. I go to the lab every day trying to find a cure, but I don't hate someone who doesn't get the vaccine. I worry about them. But I don't hate anyone. I know, Pete. I don't understand it either. We've lost friends and family over this, and the kids' worlds have been turned upside down. Where will it end? Neither of them knew. No one on Earth knew how the pandemic and hatred would finally end. Regardless of their personal risks and struggles, Peter's team of scientists worked diligently to find a cure. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Another group of virologists worked day and night to find the cure for a virus that could kill every man, woman, and child on Earth. Arnold Stoker blinked as he looked up from the microscope. I have hope for this one, Stuart. I think this may be the breakthrough we've been hoping for. Let me take a look. The much taller scientist had to bend his knees to peer into the microscope. What he saw on the slide encouraged him. Now, if we can just keep them from coming up with something else. For God's sake, we are working for the good of mankind. I'm tired of people getting in our way trying to protect the populace. I know, it's frustrating. Every time we make progress, someone comes up with a new vaccine, and we're back to square one. Arn leaned against the lab table. At some point, our virus will do its job. Everyone on Earth will have caught it. Until then, we must be diligent. I hope you're right, Arn. I hope you're right. This virus, and the immunity that will be built after people have been infected, is their only hope. If mankind is infected with the Astrid virus before we can build immunity for them through our other viral transmission, I'm afraid humanity will die. Looking out the window of their mobile laboratory, they marveled at the blue ball floating in space before them. The two weary scientists patted each other's backs with their tentacles. It's time to get back to work, Stu. Like you said, this is for the good of mankind. Thank you for joining me for Into the Night, an anthology series written by Caroline Giammanco, narration and sound design by Nari Kwak, theme music by Nico Rodriguez, all original music and editing in part provided by Flyboy Entertainment. You can find our links in the show notes. Please remember to like and subscribe, and if you enjoy what you hear, please leave us a 5-star review to help other excursionists to join us. You can find us on your favorite podcast directory. See you next time. And remember, whether in the shadows or in the daylight, all twisted paths take you into the night. Into the Night is a Creative Typo Entertainment production.